Hello, Mitch Miller here. It is Wednesday, July 5th, 2023 at 12:50 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. You shut the AC off temporarily. This is my video journal. I'm Mitch Miller. So, I know I said that I want to proceed with caution before I label a significant portion of the United States population as slaves, and obviously the world population as well, and talk about how experiments on the mentally ill could lead to a very real. We have two types of slavery, right? We have the wage slaves that make minimum wage and can only afford a cheap tenement apartment, basically, and the cheapest food available. So basically slave-like conditions. Then we have a very real situation where we have brain implants, and we're finding out more and more about the human brain, how it controls nerves, how it controls body parts. And we have a billionaire invested in brain implants with a satellite system. So as I said, I want to proceed with caution before I say experimentation on the mentally ill could lead to a prisoner military with brain implants while they're enrolled in the military. But with a for-profit media system, we're in very real danger of that scenario. So on my next podcast, I am going to move forward and talk about slavery. It makes sense. I talked about the the Transparency in Importation Act, where I talk about slave labor. So then I'm going to do a segment on slavery, how it's very real, how a large part of the population, including white people, are basically slaves, and how showing the brutality of black slavery in the United States divides us instead of uniting us. And I'm going to go into the military grade brain implant conspiracy theory as well. Well, I might not do the military grade. I haven't decided yet. I probably will. But you have people out there that say black people and Latinos are an inferior race of people and that they should be slaves, basically, right? So if you have white supremacists out there saying stuff like that to divide people, and you have someone like me that says, hey, we're all getting screwed here. We're all basically slaves. Let's unite, come together. And again, I don't promote protests. I don't promote direct action. I promote technology fixes that will slowly and in a controlled way change the conditions of more and more people to make it a prosperous society where everyone can prosper. Where if they follow certain rules that come from a direct democracy, not rules enacted by a group of elitist senators and politicians that are somehow making money off of every rule that they make. And my thought process is, I said I want to proceed with caution because people might not want to get diagnosed mentally ill if they think they're going to get experimented on. But hey, this message is to any psychologist, psychiatrist out there. I've said I want the diagnosis, an official diagnosis of wireless sensitivity, a sensitivity to wireless waves, interference in the brain, causing psychotic symptoms. I've made the video, Respiration. That 10-minute video can be showed to any psychiatrist, any psychologist, to try to get them to bring about this diagnosis. And if you're willing to work to develop this diagnosis and get it officially recognized by the psychology community, I will hold off of producing this podcast about slavery, right? If psychologists come to me, say I had access to some of your video journal, or they don't even have to admit that, just I saw your movie Respiration, I think we should have a diagnosis called wireless sensitivity. Or you can wait for the FCC to do the studies, right? Which will never happen because there's too much money in wireless waves. The question is, if you told Einstein that we are going to slowly turn up the amount of radiation inundating the population so that they can search baseball scores on a device in their pocket, he'd say, this is totally insane. I did not develop the nuclear physics and things like that so that we could just slowly say some of this radiation is safe for humans and turn it up to test it. Right, and if you look at it like that, like everybody's addicted to gambling. If you said to someone, everyone in society is addicted to gambling, and they want a device where they can constantly check sports scores and run a slot machine in their pocket, and that's why we have wireless waves everywhere, even though some people are injured by them. Anyhow, back to the law, back to laws. So that's my plan. It might be a month or so before I come out with this slavery podcast. I could do it from Operation Obama ship. The other thing I wanted to put out there is that the Constitution says, and it mentions trial by jury 3 times, one of which it says in any dispute of $20 or more, it shall have a civil trial with a jury. And it's my belief that the passage of the income tax, the ability for the federal government to charge an income tax on people, it was made at a time when we did not have direct democracy, when the media was manipulated, just as it is now. My point is that anybody that has been audited by the IRS, I think, should have been able to have a jury trial. And maybe they could, maybe that is a possibility. But if it's not, if the IRS just can audit and nobody can seek legal action against the federal government for doing that, if it's disputed that they owe more than $20 on their taxes, I think they should be able to have a jury trial. So keep that in mind, anybody that's ever been audited. Alright, so we're looking at Operation Obama. I have one obligation, my grandfather's funeral at 11 a.m. on Friday, this Friday, the 7th. After the luncheon, probably by 2 or 3, I am obligation free, meaning I could get my parents to help take care of the campsite. Ken and Beth can take care of the campsite. The only thing I have upcoming is Mitchapalooza in September. So we will be camping with Jesse Daw, his new girlfriend, possibly Matt Mary and Deb Crooks. So 2 former military personnel at Ken's campground, French Creek Farms. spots 4, 5, and 6 from Friday evening until possibly Tuesday. This would be the perfect time to approach me about getting in a vehicle, going to DC or wherever, and flying to Thessaloniki, Greece, to board a yacht that I can then insert the USB drive that I've inserted into every hotel room or ship cabin I've been in, as a way to ensure certain levels of privacy in that room. I can do that on this ship in Thessaloniki, Greece, thereby creating a neutral reference point for all computer technology, working to create peace, but they have to follow the rules that are programmed into them. So if that means fighting on a battlefield, we can allow them to have a reference point so that they can better calibrate their actions. The last thing I wanted to say was I proposed Periscope, the Periscope platform, to end corruption in the government and lead to more of a form of direct democracy among constituents. I think it's a good platform, but you're also giving the power of the media to politicians to say whatever crazy stuff they want, right? So there's a danger with that people are going to only listen to the podcasts of the politicians that say the craziest things, not have information released about each new bill and the contested points that politician has. So there's a danger to that. Right now they get media time by saying crazy stuff. That's why they say a lot of crazy stuff and get on different media channels. So we don't want to emulate that in the Periscope platform. This is why I believe the Project 66, the proposal I put out on my podcast yesterday for one streaming channel that collects videos from post-secondary educators, professors, that can say anything they want that they think is important to put out into the atmosphere, and it will be played on a streaming channel. I think this is a much better platform and first step into the media sector for disability TV for myself. So if Operation Obama is a go, I would probably focus on Project 66 somewhere up pretty high in the running. Now, if Ukraine wants to be the first to adopt the Periscope platform, we will build it for them for sure. And the other thing I wanted to say is possibly, I know it's a long shot that I would meet President Obama at this ship, but I think I put it out there that Kamala Harris should put out a video series explaining what is legal, what is illegal, maybe a joint venture between Kamala Harris and President Obama, and we could record that in any of the ports that we stop at to have the forums about robot warfare and artificial intelligence. So just putting it out there, we can do a lot of good. I've proposed a lot of things. I would have to watch this video series through, so several weeks of videos to remember all the ideas that I put out there, unless they're already compiled in a list somewhere that the military or whatever agency can give me a bullet points. These are the things we think you should focus on first. So yeah, Operation Obama. Hopefully I'm approached at Ken's campground we can either explain it to my friends and family that there's interest in Europe for me to adopt this peace treaty and develop a technology startup. We could simply say there's a benefactor out there that wants me to start a technology startup and I have to leave as soon as possible. I can pack up camp, I can stop here, I can whatever. I don't know the logistics because it's really not going to happen, is it? So just putting it out there. I think the supercomputers want it to happen. I think there's people out there that want it to happen. But we'll see. If it doesn't happen, I'll see you. Well, if it does happen, I'll be on a different computer probably doing these video series and adding to the USB drive. And if it doesn't happen, I'll be right back here possibly tomorrow and possibly next week. Thanks for watching and join me next time.